Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. And welcome back to Secret Origins Month. Well, we've got a unique one for you today. You people keep asking me for villain origins, so fine. And also, we've got ourselves a character who not only premiered in the modern age, but not even in comics to begin with. Most people are, of course, aware that Harley Quinn, created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, first appeared on Batman the Animated Series before transitioning into the DC Universe proper. Originally created as a one-off cameo character in the episode Joker's Favor, the main inspiration for her was her original voice actress Arlene Sorkin, who was college friends with Paul Dini. Sorkin had worked on the soap opera Days of Our Lives, and during a dream sequence, she was dressed in a court jester outfit, which became the inspiration for the look. So normally in Secret Origins Month, we'd be looking at a character's first comic appearance, but her first appearance in comics is the tie-in book to the animated series, The Batman Adventures number 12, which feels wholly inadequate since she was in the animated series first. One would think that I would look then at Joker's Favor, but that equally feels wrong since this is a show about comic books, and around here we talk a lot about DC and Marvel's shared universes. Which brings us to what we're looking at today. Harley Quinn became a part of the regular DC universe, right? So where did she first appear there? Well, let's dig into Batman, Harley Quinn number 1, and I'll tell you all about it.
Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man, punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Love me, say that you love me.
My scans are of a trade collection featuring several Harley stories, but it just so happens that said trade's cover shares the cover of the original one-shot, and it's a gorgeous one. I'm sure a lot of you out there have seen it before. Alex Ross's painted style and highly saturated lighting makes for beautiful artwork. In this case of the Joker in a tux dancing, or at least holding, Harley Quinn, almost like he was possessing her as an object. Behold this stunning, beautiful depiction of an abusive relationship. So for whatever reason, the decision to add Harley Quinn to the DC Universe happened smack dab in the middle of No Man's Land. If you'll recall the Cassandra Cain retrospective several months ago, No Man's Land was a year-long storyline in all the Batman books where, for several reasons, primarily an earthquake, the United States government locked off the city of Gotham and didn't allow anyone in or out. The prison population of Arkham Asylum was left behind and let free, so Poison Ivy took over Central Park and turned it into a massive garden, actually making a deal with Batman to grow fresh fruit to supply to innocents trapped in the city. Here we see her carrying a shipment of fruit around in a horse-drawn carriage with a horse made out of leaves. Worst part is that it poops poison oak. She stopped because of a bunch of trash that's piled up on the road that she has to clear before she can move on. However, she soon discovers Harley Quinn in the wreckage, who momentarily recovers from her injuries before collapsing again. Interesting. She somehow has wreckage on top of her again in this panel, despite that not being there a moment ago. Interesting. Ivy takes Harley back home, which has a few supplies that she uses to patch her up. Gah! What's with that face? Yeah, the artwork in the story is fine for the most part, but then there are a few shots like this where she becomes some weird bobble-headed demon. Ivy recognizes her as a doctor from Arkham Asylum, which she thinks is reason enough to kill her. Sure, be my guest. I don't care anymore. I got nothing to live for now. Here, this gunk looks good and tasty. Knowing you, one sip and it's food for worms time, right? Actually, that's just a Dr. Pepper. Yeah, pretty sure that'll still kill me. Ivy wants to know what the hell her story is before she tries to kill herself, so she explains her backstory about becoming an intern at Arkham and convincing the higher-ups to let her hold private sessions with the Joker. I was hoping to get research material for a book on the serial killer mystique. I found the Joker's psyche disturbing, his dementia alarming, his use of green hair dye surprising. His real hair color is a really ugly beige. But she also found his charm irresistible. She aided in some of his escapes from Arkham, and when she was eventually found out, Dr. Arkham had her license revoked and committed her to the asylum. Pretty sure that's not how that works. Months passed, and she was convinced that the Joker would come for her, until eventually all the security was turned off when the city was walled off. The time's a little off, especially since the implication is that this happened in the wake of the earthquake that hit Gotham, but there was a significant amount of time between the quake and No Man's Land, yet the way it's described suggests otherwise. Anyway, she comes across some cops trying to help some people who have been exposed to Joker gas and runs off, looking for him. Since she was going to be reunited with the Joker soon, she decides to put together her costume. Too derivative. Maybe, but a narcissist like the Joker might actually appreciate that. And then there's this ensemble. She recognizes that it looks hideous, but my question is, why didn't she realize that as she was putting it on? And finally, of course, the classic Harley Quinn outfit. I maintain my position that this is the best Harley look, and the various outfits she's adopted in the wake of the Arkham games and the Suicide Squad movie are crap, and trying way too hard. On an unrelated note, this episode was actually a replacement. I was originally going to look at the first appearance of the Suicide Squad, except they first appeared in the middle of an event comic, and their next appearance in an issue of Secret Origins focused on one of their members and not the team itself, while the first issue of their ongoing series just wasn't that interesting, so I went with Harley instead. On that note, she learns that the Joker is looking for supplies, and in the wake of No Man's Land, the Penguin has a massive trade empire in the city, so he'd likely go there. And indeed, we see the two talking. I'm looking to set up business again, too. I know I can count on my bosom chum Oswald to loan me the few basics I need to get started. I'm thinking of starting a cryptocurrency. He wants a lot of basics, as well as a lot of weapons, but the Penguin says it's a strictly barter-based operation, and the Joker has nothing to offer in trade. The Joker and his goons pull out guns, though so do the Penguins. That's when Harley shows up, causing enough of a distraction for the Joker's men to gun down the Penguins. He finally recognizes her as Harley, and with her pointing a gun at the Penguin's head, they secure the supplies they need. The Joker mentions that they haven't had time to locate a new hideout, and so Harley acquires one, an old tunnel of love at a dockside amusement park. Of course, the current tenants had to go. All things considered, they took their eviction very well. They said it was still better than their last landlords. She fixed it up, even decorated it in Joker-themed stuff, and it's hard to tell how much of this is Harley's exaggeration versus the truth. She says Joker kept laughing as they went through the tunnel, but we don't really see him doing so, yet I could believe that he did. What calls Harley's recounting into question is that she claims that when they reached the main area, he was ecstatic and overcome with delight, while the reality shows him simply saying, doable. Still, regardless of the actual facts, the two worked together and even danced together for a while. Things took a turn when the Joker wanted to take over some docks held by a man named Ernie. Joker claims that he just wants to work together as full partners, which the guy eventually accepts. Ernie, I welcome you with the right hand of friendship. And then he uses his joy buzzer to electrocute the guy. Aw, but the buzzer was in the left hand of deceit. Let's not even talk about the third mutant hand of indecision. Batman soon shows up before the Joker is ready for him, so Harley heads out to try to divert him away from the docks. Evening, Batman. We never actually met, but we have mutual friends. Name is Quinn. Harley Quinn.
I know you.
The demented therapist who thinks she's in love with the Joker. Isn't that the other way around? That she thinks the Joker is in love with her? She very clearly is in love with him. He tells her to get out of the way. It's no place for you, especially if you have some insane idea of starting trouble. Trouble? Don't mind if I do. And she throws a little party fun ball at him filled with confetti, and we'll take a look at this reaction. Ah, confetti! Alfred, help! It's so colorful and it sticks to my costume! No one will take me seriously anymore! He, of course, is more than capable of outfighting her, and she just decides to leave after he grabs the balls at the end of her jester hat. Naturally, they are explosives, which seems like a dumb idea, not because of keeping explosives close to your face, that one's kind of obvious, but rather with that, you can't shake your head around and make them bounce everywhere, which is half the fun of a jester's hat. The Joker and his flunkies, in the meantime, have made their escape, intending to leave Harley behind, except, of course, she's made it back to the car first. The two have a romantic evening together, where he drugs her unconscious before they could have sex. Which, honestly, I prefer. Aside from the fact that I never want to think about the Joker having sex, I just kind of think of the Joker as either asexual, or just that his kinks are so bizarre and specific that no human being could ever fulfill them. After Harley awakens, she finds a note left for her. Meet me in a special place in Silent Hill? No, it's to go to the rocket ride in the amusement park, which locks the door on Harley when she enters. Joker sends a transmission to her. You see, over the past few weeks, I've felt some changes coming over me since you entered my life. I've been reminded of what it's like to be part of a couple, to care for someone who cares for me. It's the first time in recent memory I've had those feelings. And I hate having those feelings. They're upsetting, confusing, and worse, distracting me from getting my share of Gotham now that the getting's good. Well, Joker, I at least applaud you for recognizing your feelings about this relationship and breaking it off instead of stringing it along and harming it even further. You are still better at this whole relationships thing than Thanos. So, yeah, somehow he's turned this amusement park ride into an actual rocket that, thanks to Harley playing with the wiring, crashes into the ground near the park where Ivy was located, and that's where we picked up at the start of the comic. When Ivy asks if she'd like to get even, Harley responds in the affirmative. As such, Ivy pours a purple liquid down her throat. Glah! That was rank! Yes, the purple stuff in the old Sunny D commercials really was the worst. She says that it's basically an immunizing agent. Ivy's own body chemistry has changed so much that prolonged exposure to her over time can actually harm someone if not properly protected, and it's necessary if the two are going to hang out together. And we're going to need to be if we're going to be shipped together. Like, seriously, at this point we're pretty much canon. Ooh, I got something nasty happening to me already. That juice is giving me the whim-whams something fierce. Oh, yeah, that's not the liquid. You have a lot of internal bleeding after the crash. I'm not really a doctor. Ugh, feels like live rats chewing through my gut. This is a weird adaptation of 1984. Ivy offers something to help ride out the pain, but Harley resists, instinctively doing a lot of superhuman flips and agility. Not only has your body's resistance to toxins been seriously upped, so has your natural strength and agility, and the only side effect is the hourly diarrhea. Ivy says she did this because she sympathizes with Harley's situation. And because it amused her. Few comics talk about the idea of giving someone superpowers because they were bored. She'd like Harley to strike back at Batman, too. She's not really that fond of the deal she made with Batman, but the terms of the truce force her to not directly attack him. But Harley isn't bound by it. To get Batman's attention, she lights a bat signal with some gloves she had. Turn that off! As the world's greatest detective, I am determined that your shadow puppet is a buddy! He wants to take her to the cops, but she explains that she wants to lead him to the Joker because of him trying to kill her. So you've discovered his henchman retirement program. Sure, you get murdered, but he actually shells out a lot of money for the funeral expenses and for the loved ones, especially if you don't have life insurance. It's tough, but fair. She explains that the Joker plans to get a shipment of medical supplies smuggled into Gotham, then put the word out that they're there. Everyone will scramble to grab them, and aid workers will distribute them to the needy, and then he'll activate hidden explosives in them to kill tons and tons of people. Just a little giggle to remind people he's still alive. I recommended a Joker signal, but he thought my shadow puppets needed work. He doesn't trust her fully, so instead of coming with her, he hands her a tracking device that he can use to follow her. If the story checks out, he'll take care of the Joker, but he demands she not interfere with taking him down. After an interlude with the Joker killing one of his henchmen for talking too much about his girlfriend, Harley leads Batman right to the Joker's lair, where Bats proceeds to beat up the henchman. Meanwhile, Joker is talking to the dead body of the henchman, only for Harley to show up and start beating him up, which is always satisfying. Even his poison gas flower won't affect her thanks to the upgrade Ivy gave her, and she just kicks him down. Unfortunately, Batman shows up to spoil the fun.
I told you to stay out of it!
Back off, B-Man! I got dibs!
Yeah, but I have bat dibs, which supersedes regular dibs! I'm Batman.
With her enhanced agility, she's actually able to fight him off a little better, but it's still Batman versus a woman who has no fighting training, so he easily tosses her aside and continues chasing after the fleeing Joker. This is not fair! All through this whole earthquake business, you barely said boo to me! Can this marriage be saved? Bats demands to know where the medical supplies are, but the Joker has no idea what he's talking about, allowing Harley to knock Batman out with a comically oversized mallet. It's her turn again to try to take out the Joker. Crazy broad, blaming me for every little glitch in the relationship? At what point did I become the bad guy? Joker likes to hang out at a lot of incel forums. She chases him up some kind of tower drop ride and resumes beating him up and ranting about how he never really cared for her or loved her, and now she'll take him down. Would it help if I said I was sorry? And she drops the wrench and embraces him, proclaiming that it would. Notice that he never actually did say he was sorry, just asked if it would help. They make their escape, with Harley leaving a note for Batman admitting that she made up the whole thing about the medical supplies, but that the Joker liked the idea, though with the modification of just blowing up the amusement park and him with it. He, of course, escapes and Batman retreats to Arkham Asylum, where he's based out of during No Man's Land. And so our comic ends with Bruce declaring that he has to go back out there despite his injuries.
Gotham remains in turmoil, Alfred. The peacekeepers hide in the madhouse while the lunatics rule the streets. The peacekeepers should be ruling the streets like kings, Alfred! Like kings! None of us can rest until the balance is restored. Until the Joker, Harley Quinn, and their ilk no longer haunt this city. Or the good people still clinging to its ruins. Or the ghosts. They've kind of put the ghosts out of a job with their haunting.
So, yeah, that's it for the ending. Kind of disappointing. The story is all about Harley Quinn, so shouldn't she have gotten the last word in the book? Or even Poison Ivy sighing upon hearing that Harley is back with the Joker? It's not bad, it's meant to tie back into the No Man's Land stuff. Just narratively, it's odd for that to be the note we end on. This comic is good, but a bit watered down from the classic Mad Love. For introducing Harley into the DC Universe proper, it does it well, basically telling the same story as the animated series for her backstory, but leaving out a lot of the details of how the Joker tricked Harley and took advantage of her naivete about what to expect from him. As a result, her turn to evil in the backstory feels a lot more forced than it did in the cartoon. Still, since the animated series hadn't been gone for too long, it's understandable that they didn't feel the need to just copy it word for word, and instead get the major idea across while focusing on integrating her into the universe proper, doing so in a logical, believable way given what was going on in the books at the time. The plot is sensible, and aside from the odd ending note focusing more on Batman than on Harley, it works very well. And despite my criticisms of some of the art, it overall is very serviceable and does a great job, especially in the fight scenes, where it's always very nice to see Harley beating up the Joker given their relationship. Next time, we have a threefer of first appearances for Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven of the Titans.
I'm sitting on my couch reviewing comics. The worst parts that you will ever see. It's sad that comics
Hey, Batman, maybe you'd have a better time dealing with the problems of No Man's Land if your cape weren't, like, the length of 3 people. Hello, my friends. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with others. And if you get a chance, maybe check out my Patreon.